This is a glass mousepad, more specifically a glass Skypad, and it costs 200 Singapore dollars, which is a massive price tag for a gaming mousepad. Now, for the record, I didn't actually buy this mousepad, but it wasn't sent to me by Skypad either. So what actually happened with this mousepad was that I was chatting with Dota 2 legend Ice, and he was like, I don't really like this glass pad, would you like to take it home to review it? So this video is technically sponsored by Ice. Anyway, let's start off with the objective performance of this pad. Now, I'm not going to act like I have, fancy testing equipment, but out of all the 20 gaming mice I tested, I had basically zero issues with any sort of tracking problems or, tracking accuracy issues. There's no issues whatsoever with this mousepad. So if you're concerned about glass as a gaming mousepad surface, don't be. The Skypad is very well executed, and basically any modern gaming mouse should have no issues tracking on it. As for more subjective factors though, it's going to be hard to describe this, so I'm going to try my best to help you make the best purchase decision here. Now, the biggest thing, of course, about having a glass mousepad is its low friction. The slipperiness of a glass pad is insane. There's a noticeably lower amount of both static and dynamic friction with this glass pad than both my high-end FX, my ROG Hone Ace, even when using Pulsar X2s with glass mice feet on these cloth pads. Do note though that it's very not recommended to use glass feet on a glass pad, since the similar hardness levels of a glass mouse feet and the glass mousepad will probably result in some scratching on the mousepad, which will hurt its longevity and hurt its coating over long periods of usage, which obviously will hurt performance. On top of the lower friction that a glass mousepad brings though, there's also the fact that it is a very, very hard pad, since it's literally a block of solid glass. This means that unlike a traditional softer cloth pad that most people will be used to, you can't really rely on the squishy padding a cloth pad has to quickly increase friction for quickly stopping your mouse after a flick, since pressing hard downwards onto this pad literally does nothing since it's solid glass. Whereas when you press down on a traditional cloth pad, it's very helpful for slowing down your mouse, since the soft compressible nature of a cloth pad is very helpful for increasing friction when you compress it and press your mouse down into it. Now, this is something that's completely subjective as to whether it's a good or bad thing with regards to the glass Skypad. And I think some people can get used to this. But if you're someone who is very used to using a mousepad that is soft, squishy, and you can press into to slow down with, glass pads might not be the right choice for you. However, this lower friction does mean that changing direction on this mousepad is very, very easy, with this extremely low inertia to overcome when moving your mouse in the opposite direction, which in my opinion does allow for better micro adjustments, which means for tasks that require a lot of quick micro adjustments like tracking aim, I actually find the Skypad to feel excellent and way better than any cloth pad I've tried. However, it does result in a slightly different feel when controlling your mouse on a glass pad versus a cloth pad. With a cloth pad, you're kind of playing with the textures of the mouse pad. With a glass pad, what you're really doing is just moving the weight of the mouse around. And I feel like a super duper light mouse actually feels more natural on a glass pad, whereas some extra weight on your mouse wouldn't be a big deal on a cloth pad, since the texture of the mouse pad is something that you notice more than the weight anyway. Another thing I noticed is that if you are on a lower sensitivity, this lower friction probably means that you can flick a lot faster, which would definitely help you compensate for a slower sensitivity. And this lower friction of a glass mousepad means that you are applying less force to move your mouse around, which in turn might reduce the strain on your forearm during these big, massive amounts of flicks you might be doing in game, which is definitely a nice to have for ergonomics. But on the contrary to that, it might also be more straining on your forearm, since you are going to have to exert and tense up your forearm more to stop your mouse if you're flicking really, really fast and you don't really have precise, mouse control and hand control, and you're used to relying on the friction of your mousepad to stop your mouse. Really, the main thing here for me is that there is a big difference in how you're playing with your mouse and controlling things compared to a cloth pad. You see, with a traditional setup with a cloth pad and PTFE feet, you are kind of playing with friction levels to control your mouse by pressing down with different levels of force to compress the cloth mousepad to different levels to change the speed, the control, and the feel you have with your mouse. Whereas on a glass pad like the Skypad, it's basically exclusively just an issue of how accurately you can move your hand left, however millimeters, however centimeters. Also, there's a big advantage to the hardness for certain things. One thing I like about the glass pad is that it's super consistent, since it's a solid flat, hard surface. I love how it feels exactly the same anywhere on the mousepad, and it just feels consistent throughout. I also love that the glass pad is really, really heavy, meaning that no matter, where I put it, it doesn't move. And my favorite part about the glass Skypad, and this is something that I don't think that many people will care about, is that a glass Skypad is thermally very conductive, which means it's very cool to the touch, and it kind of helps keep my arms stay cool even after hours of long gameplay, which is something I value a lot in hot, sunny Singapore. So in conclusion then, who is a glass Skypad for, and is it really worth the hefty 200 Singapore dollar price tag? Well, it really comes down to how precise you can be with your arm movements and how reliant you are on the friction and squishiness of a traditional cloth mousepad in terms of slowing down, controlling and aiming with your mouse. But that actually brings me to the next question, which is it worth it? And to be honest, I'm hard-pressed to see how it might ever be. Unless you're super into ultra high performance and trying to figure out what is the best gear for you, or you are a professional who needs every single minute percentage improvement in performance, and on top of that, the advantages of a low friction hard surface is fully apparent to you, I find it hard to justify paying so much for a mousepad, especially one where it's so different to a traditional cloth mousepad that you might not like it at all. If you are coming from, say, a hard plastic mousepad, however, I didn't talk about that all that much since I personally haven't used that once in my life and don't really have much experience with it, then maybe it might be a good idea to consider the Skypad as just a direct upgrade, since I suspect the experience of the Skypad is a lot closer to a traditional hard plastic pad than a traditional cloth pad. I also thought that comparing it with the cloth pad will be a better comparison since, well, most people are used to average cloth pads rather than plastic hard pads. However, one thing that I'll consider about the price is that, if you do manage to try it in real life before purchase and you are confident that you would like a glass Skypad before you buy one, the higher cost of a glass Skypad is somewhat offset in the long term by the fact that glass would most likely last a whole lot longer than an average cloth or even a hard plastic pad, and it will also stay more consistent for longer than almost any cloth or plastic pad, even the most well-built one, since glass is a much sturdier material than cloth. Though that is assuming you don't accidentally shatter the pad by dropping it, or your cat pushes it off the table or something. But with how heavy a Skypad is, your cat probably will be the strongest animal alive if it could push it off a table. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was fun or interesting in some way, and if you did appreciate it, make sure you like and subscribe.